The bus whistle screeched a dry sound. Lost in the salty air. Characteristics of the town. The beach was shocked by the heavy backpack on her shoulder. Step down to the sand level and the sand. The wind blows the cage, carrying the fishy taste of the sea. And the smell of dried fish drying out somewhere recently. It's different from the stifling atmosphere. Dust in the city. You just left a few hours ago. This small town is strangely quiet. Just a few hidden red and silver roofing tiles. Under the shadow of the coconut. The narrow asphalt road that runs along the deserted coast. No satu shadow passing by. Take a deep breath. Try to gauge. My chest is full of this fresh air. As if to wash away all the fatigue. The pressure is heavy in my heart. This trip for you is a real escape. Running away from family expectations. Running away from the mess of a broken life. And run away from the wobbly self. At the age of 22, full of wonder. You broke a piece of paper. Write down the address of the motel that he told you to check carefully. Before going to a peaceful vacation. The host is my mother's old friend's aunt. My mother's voice still fluttered by her worried ears. But there's also some hope. Where the boy is losing his way. The peaceful hostel nestled at the end of the road. It's just an old, creamy yellow two-story house. Silvery wood fence because of sea salt. Engraved wooden signs, simple, and handwriting has faded much. It doesn't seem like a busy business. It's more like a normal house than a vacation home. The king hasn't pushed the wooden gate creaking. A clean tiled little yard. Some pots of paper flowers blooming in the afternoon sun. A woman about 5 weeks ago came out of the house. A little thin. Her head in a tight bun at the back of her neck. She wears a corduroy mezzanine. Blessed face. But the eyes contained a silent sadness. Deep down those eyes looked at me. I was a little surprised, but not curious. You are the king of tomorrow, the emperor stammered. I was a little embarrassed by the calm of the woman. The woman was slightly surprised, then a soft smile came to her lips. A smile not too bright, but enough to ease the sadness on her face. Your mother called ahead of time. I'm sure you're tired of going home. Her voice was very pleasant to hear. Follow your feet inside. Inside the hostel is not wide but extremely tidy. Old but clean cotton tile floor. The furniture is not new, but it is neatly arranged. The air smells of old wood. And a little incense. Something there. Maybe it's from a white chrysanthemum vase. Put it on a frayed painted cupboard. Hello, my room is upstairs in room 3. You like a room with a window overlooking the sea. Give the king the key. With small piece of wood engraved by number. Whatever you need, call me. Thank you, auntie. He received the key to his head. You feel the thought. Keep the distance light. From my mother's old friend. Room number B is not large. Simple decoration with a wooden bed. A small wardrobe and a set of rattan tables and chairs by the window. Just like she said, the big window looks directly at the sea. The sea is calm this afternoon. The deep blue water brushed to the horizon. He opened the window to let the ocean breeze into the room. Bring with slightly salty moisture. Wet, he dropped down on the hot mattress bed. But clean. I feel tired after a long trip. But it's more than physical fatigue. It's a vague sense of emptiness in my heart. A few weeks here, will it help you find some peace? The first evening passed in silence. But he didn't come down to dinner. Just eat the noodles. He sat by the window looking out at the sea of darkness. Only the flickering lights from some boats, far away. And the waves crashed against the shore like a traveling song. Sleepy loneliness in the city. It seems to have stuck with you until now. Even denser in this alien space. About 9 hours. He heard the door across the room open. He was curious to look out. She stepped out into the hallway, holding a white porcelain tube. She didn't turn on the light and he went quietly down the stairs. A moment later he saw the shadow. She's sitting in a rattan chair on the porch, face the sea. She sat there for a long time. It's like a statue in the dark. The silent figure doesn't understand why. It makes you feel a strange empathy. This woman. They must also be carrying their own beliefs. The gaps are not easy to fill. The next morning he woke up early. Partly for strange bed. Partly because of the waves. and the birds calling out the window. You go home. I saw my grandmother cleaning the front yard. The queen laughed softly. Are you used to waking up so early? I can sleep. Do you need me to help you? Emperor asked, feeling a little guilty about staying in without doing anything. Auntie's mind faltered. Then point your hand at the paper pots. Please help me water these flowers. You water every morning, Andy. There's a lot of work today. The king is happy to accept. You're holding a little faucet. Carefully irrigate each tree. She kept sweeping the yard. You don't say much. There's only the sound of water rustling, and the bamboo brooms rustling against the brick. When the emperor gave but the hose to her mind, two people accidentally touched each other. It's a very small touch, but it's enough to startle both of you. The king hurriedly withdrew his hand, his face red. The mind also turns away. Keep working, but the movement is a bit awkward. The silent eye enveloped the small courtyard. Only the ocean's waves echoed in the distance. Roa. He looked up at the woman sweeping the dry leaves. The sun shone on her hair. To light up the silver threads. There's something so peaceful. But it's also fragile in the image. Both people, and old and young, they all carry in them nameless shortcomings. Accidentally met in this peaceful coastal town. A vague seed of emotion, unknown form. Seems to have begun to be sown. The next days at the motel passed peacefully. Very slowly, as serene as the fairy rhythm of this coastal town. Getting used to the air here. With the waves crashing against the shore every morning. With the afternoon soon. And the cool ocean winds at sunset, you find your heart softened somewhat. The sprawl where the city seemed to settle. In the morning, the emperor usually helps her with some errands, sweeping the garden for irrigation. Sometimes he cleaned the guest rooms. At first, she objectively refused, but you see the enthusiasm. She could not refuse the kindness of the young man. Common working times. They tell each other some trivia stories. It's mainly about life. Noisy students in the city. And you share the pieces. Little sing about this quiet town. About the salty fish seasons. About the meek, naive people. Lunches and dinners. It became the closest time between them. She is not fussy about cooking. But it's delicious. It's home. The dining table has only two people. The atmosphere is unusually cozy. It's been a long time since he felt. It's like a real family meal. Since the day you went to the city to study away from home. She picked up food and asked Tan to study. About your friends. Prince is also more natural. Tell her about the unfinished business. The invisible pressures you're facing. I'm tired in Bunchen City. Sometimes he just want to go home. He sighed and he picked up the fragrant mackerel in Lapan. She smiled softly and her smile was still sad. You have your own worries everywhere. The city is noisy. The countryside is boring. People are always looking for a place of peace. But real peace. Maybe it's in my heart. He looked up at her. Your eyes are deep. Contains an experience you can't fully understand. Maybe this woman. You have also been through many storms of life. To get the kind of superficial serenity. The meals just go by. The closeness between them naturally increases. But kept in a framework. Your aunt's true love. Sometimes their eyes accidentally meet in the middle of the lies. Lasts a little longer than normal. They both looked the other way. A vague flurry of confusion creeping through the eye. An afternoon with a cold. Maybe it's a sudden change in weather. And a few days ago, he was swimming a little late. B-boy had hemp fever. She saw the king in the room. She knocked anxiously on the door to ask. Why don't you come down to eat? He tried to sit up with a hoarse voice. I'm a little tired. He must have a cold. She walked into the room and he touched the raw forehead. Her hands were a little rough but strangely warm. My forehead is too hot for me to cook. Let's lie down. She refused, but hurried to the kitchen. A moment later, she picked up a steaming bowl of onion porridge. Fragrant. She sat down on the edge of the bed. Put a spoon of porridge on your mouth and blow it cold. Eat it hot. After eating, take the pill and rest. You will be fine. Duaro I'll pick up Lapan hot porridge feeling strangely warm. Long time ago. Then you're not being taken care of by the IE. Your mother is far away from her friends in the city. Everyone is busy with their own life. Her simple interest in mind. It makes you very emotional right now. You eat all the lapan porridge and you feel better. Give him fever medicine and a glass of warm water. Thank you very much. The little prince has nothing to thank you for. You're my friend, I'm here alone. I see you as a child in the house. Her voice is still soft. But when she lifted up the king's blanket, her fingers accidentally flashed across his arm. One more time. The vague feeling of numbness running down the spine. You can see her face. It's a little red under the yellow nightlight. She hurriedly stood up. Auntie, come on, call me if you have anything. She sighed and he quickly left the room. Lie down on the bed. It's filled with unspeakable emotions. Your grandmother's kind care moves you. But the touch of her hand and her confusion, it planted in your heart a strange feeling. It's both sweet and a little taboo. You fall asleep in the smell of onion porridge. And a woman with sad eyes. But the hands are extraordinarily warm. As for her mind after leaving the royal room, she also found that her heart was beating faster than normal. She stood quietly in the hallway overlooking the night sea. How long has it been since you felt so confused? Since the day the husband died, the daughter went to the city. She lives quietly alone. All emotions seem to have hardened. The appearance of the young prince, enthusiasm in the eyes. Sometimes look at the young man's troubled grandmother. Accidentally stirred the still lake in her lap. She felt warm because of the king's concern. But it's also confusing because vibrations shouldn't be there. She sighed, trying to get rid of the wandering thoughts. Tell yourself that. That's just my aunt's usual feeling. But deep in my heart, she knew something was starting to change. A few days later the feeling was good. You continue the quiet summer days in town. Coastal wandering along the sand. Read a book or help her. And name things in the motel. The closeness between them seemed to return. Normal spinning. But there's some invisible thread that's formed. Make both of you more aware of the presence of the other. One morning when the king was sitting on the porch reading a book, a woman about her age. The shape of the nose is somewhat piercing. That's Mrs. Lan, the neighbor near the motel. Mrs. Lan is famous all over town as a talker. He liked to watch other people's homes. Hello, I have a guest here today. Mrs. Lan spoke loudly. His eyes swept from the sky. She's coming out of the house. Your Majesty. My friend's grandson is in town. He came back for a little vacation. Her voice still seemed calm. But it's a little bit awkward. Lan squinted at the emperor. And unsympathetically if you look. City boys go home for summer vacation. It looks so bright. To go back to the sad part of the sea. You are good at numbers. Sir is a nephew who is a lonely companion. Mrs. Lan's innuendo. It makes the eye awkward. The king felt uneasy in front of her attitude. She softly frowned, but then quickly regained his composure. Mrs. Lan, is there anything wrong? Mrs. Lan is nothing. Is he a stranger in the house? Let's go ask. I haven't been able to do business lately. Are sermon guests? Mrs. Lan changed her voice but her eyes still glanced at the emperor. It's just routine, ma'am, she replied briefly, clearly not wanting to doubt. Mrs. Lan lingered for a few more minutes, asked Han some more boring trivia. He also think about leaving, when her shadow is behind the gate. She sighed with a slightly tired face. People don't talk a lot. Her mouth can't hide her frustration. She turned to look at the king. His eyes were a little surprised and sad. Forget about people. The tongue of the world can't handle it. I want to give my heart peace. He looked at her face, trying to be strong. But the heart gives rise to a sense of compassion and discontent. You feel like you and your wife are on the same page. Sighed. In the face of all the gossip from the outside, the distance between them seemed to be invisibly shortened. Not by physical intimacy, but with empathy in the face of public pressure. That afternoon the odd ceiling fan in the living room suddenly groaning, then stopped completely. It's the hottest day of summer. No more fan is annoying. Let me see it for you. He suggested that when he saw her struggling to fix it. You know how to fix electricity, I'm surprised. I know a little bit too. But in the dorm, these little things. We all fix it ourselves. He picked up his chair to check the fan. Please stand down and hold the chair for me. The living room is not large. More stuff, so it's kind of cramped. As the king plays with the snails on the fan ceiling. Your arm accidentally rubbed lightly on her shoulder, standing light below. It's a light electrical current that runs through both bodies. The startled king almost dropped the screwdriver. She hurriedly took a step back. Flushed face had palpitations. I'm sorry. The queen stuttered, not daring to look directly into her eyes. No more sao. And the mind is just as confused as the child's voice. The air in the room suddenly became strangely stuffy. More than the heat of summer. The fae touched fairy. It's like a stone thrown into the lake. The silence ripples the waves of emotion that they're both trying to suppress. Try to focus on fixing the fan, but your mind keeps wandering around the image of your face. The red and the confused eyes of the old lady. You recognize this woman. Even at the age of 5 weeks, it still has its own charm. It's a beautiful experience, mixed with the fragility of a lonely woman. She's standing about a mile away. Try to stay calm. But in my head set at hundreds. You feel it clearly. The masculine presence of the emperor near me. The smell of sweat on the young man. The sheer strength of a 10-year-old couple. And sometimes he's looking at her. It all confuses you ba. Fear. It's the vibrations that are arising in my head. Fear of human judgment. And the fear of not being able to control myself. If you keep staying close to the emperor like this. A fan is finally running again. Bring a cool breeze. But can't seem to calm the atmosphere. Hot. And the tension between two people in a small room. A few days later the atmosphere was awkward. And her mind seems to have vanished. Give way to a more silent closeness than before. He still helps her with her work. But still takes care of you. As a family member. But they both understood implicitly that there's something different. After the touch accidentally hung under the ceiling fan throat, they are more aware of their opponent's eyes. Be more careful in close gestures. It's like keeping a secret together. Not yet formed. One afternoon, when you're reading in the living room, you hear the phone ring, echoing from her mind's room. She's sitting in the kitchen. Hurry to wipe your hands on the apron. Then go to the phone room. The door wasn't closed. He accidentally overheard the conversation. Yeah, I know. Don't worry about the money. I can see that the hotel has few guests lately. No more. Don't worry. Remember to stay healthy. Her voice is still soft. Try to be calm. But royalty. I hear in it a gripping struggle. The call did not last long, but after hanging up, she sat in the room for a long time before coming out. Her face was a little worried, eyes far away to the sea. That harbors a silent anxiety. Raw guess. It's a call from her daughter in the city. You know her daughter's in college. The cost of living where the city is expensive. It must be a heavy burden. For the woman, to run this little motel alone. Look at her thoughtful appearance. Suddenly he saw my head go down. He realized behind the calm appearance, you also have burdens. Her own concerns that she always tried to hide. The image of a strong woman. The independence you often see. There seems to be one more flaw. Vulnerable. That night after dinner, the king and his wife sat down to drink tea on the terrace. The moon rises early tonight, round burning edges, a layer of silver glistening on the sea. The night is quiet, the wine blows softly with salt. What girl called you back? He asked to break the silence. She was a little startled and nodded. She called back to ask. He's preparing for his final exams, so it's a bit of a pressure. How much does it cost to study away from home? The prince sighed indifferently. I really want to share my worries with you. She sighed a very soft sigh. Yeah, it's expensive. But it doesn't matter. I try to take care of you and teach you to be human. I just hope he learns well. He later had a stable job as hard as his mother. She looked at me and felt a deep empathy. You're going through the same pressure. My parents also want me to get a good job out of school. You have a lot of money, but sometimes you feel bad. You don't know what you really want, what you like. Keep spinning around in the exam learning cycle. Then he went to school and he applied for a job. This is the first time the emperor revealed his secret confessions to her mind. Perhaps the peaceful atmosphere of the sea night, or maybe empathy. You can feel it from this woman. It made it easier for you to open up. She listened in silence. Her eyes looked at the king with care and understanding. When she finished, she sighed slowly. But Isius also has its moments of confusion. Dear, it is important not to be discouraged. Slowly discover yourself. Try what you find interesting. Don't focus too much on success or failure. Sometimes, the path he took was not what he originally planned, but it leads us to better things that he didn't expect. She stopped for a moment, sipping hot lotus tea like you here. He used to dream a lot. But then life pushes. He ended up sticking with this little motel. Sometimes he feel lonely. But then he realized he was happy. Sometimes it's not about achieving big things. It's about appreciating what you have. You find joy in everyday things. Her sea words were gentle but piercing. The king feels like he's untanglet. Some of the problems in my head, she doesn't give empty advice or impose. It's simply about sharing experiences. The contemplations if a person has gone through many ups and downs. You see peace in her, an experienced mind that friends if the same page. Your child can't have it. He looked up at her under the moon. The beauty of grandma. It is no longer the beauty of spring that you flirted a few days ago. Tonight you find her beautiful in a different way. The beauty of depth of understanding and tolerance. You see, you're not just looking at her like a distant aunt. Your mother's friend is like a soulmate. Someone you can trust. Share the most intimate things. The bond between them seemed to be growing stronger. After the evening of laugh, it's not physical attraction. It's the union of two souls. You feel alone and lost in the middle of life. The king is grateful to be here. He met the mind. This escape trip is probably. It doesn't just help you find peace. It also gives you a strange charm. An attachment. You can't explain it all yourself. Life at a peaceful hostel. Still going on with the slow rhythm that's inherent. But royalty. She began to notice subtle changes in her mind. She kept her usual quiet appearance. But sometimes, he caught her standing in front of the old mirror, hanging in the hallway, softly stroking the gray hair, eyes a little dreamy sinking. Once, he saw her wearing a silk shirt. Instead of the clothes you usually wear at home, even if it wasn't a weekend, or have a special guest. The shirt is not too revealing, but the soft silk gently embraced the thin figure, exalts the still-shaped female lines. Even though it's been half a life, my wife seems to be aware of the two. He was a little embarrassed to see the king's eyes. Stop on yourself. A little longer. But these small changes, like the ripples rolling on a still lake, stir up the raw mind again. You find her strangely attractive. Not the radiant beauty of youth. It's the kind of passion that a woman has experienced. A little confused, like a young woman who knows how to laugh. That beauty combined with the silent solitude. And the deep soul that he felt from her. Creates an irresistible attraction. It just makes you curious. Just made you flutter. In a way you've never been. With girls the same age. You wonder. Am I looking at my mother's friend? With another look. And I should not be. A vague sense of guilt lingering in my mind. But the attraction from her mind was too strong. You can't stop thinking about her. You can't stop watching the gestures. Eyes her fleeting smile. A late afternoon, after the last guest had left, she asked the king to clean the rooms. Upstairs, two people together changed the brush the bed to clean the furniture. Not much work, but the small space of the boardroom. They are often very close together. When we're folding together the big bed combing a sheet, their hands accidentally touched each other. No more one is in a hurry this time. The warmth from her hands passed to the king. A soft shivering warmth. Hoisted up. He caught her eyes and she was looking at me. A deep gaze filled with complex emotions. It's a little confusing. A little embarrassed. But there's also a ray of something waiting for longing. That moment seemed to last forever. The space is so quiet. Can hear clearly. The sound of my heart pounding in my chest. And the soft breath of her mind right next to her. The smell of chrysanthemum on my grandmother. Sometimes around, mixed with the smell of freshly washed cloth. It's a spatial smell. Make your mind spin. You feel a strong urge. You want to do something beyond the limit. You want to draw you closer. You want to uncover the mystery behind those sad eyes. But she was the one who finished first. She coughed softly for an hour, hurriedly let go of the gashit kombetra. Turn your face away. Let me go get Anuga. Her voice was a little trembling. The emperor stood still, looking at her. She hurried out of the room. He raised his hand to touch what her hand had just touched. The feeling of warmth seems to remain. Your heart is beating so fast. A feeling of regret. It just invades the soul. You know that the last touch was no longer accidental. It's a signal. A tacit acknowledgement of the intense attraction exists between them. It's a dangerous but fascinating attraction. You stand quietly in an empty room. Look out the window where the sunset is falling on the sea. The sky is tinged with a vibrant purple red, but also sad. Roa. I feel like my heart is filled with color. The mess outside. You came here to find peace, to escape from the complexities of boy-girl life. But it seems, you're accidentally falling into a relationship. It's complicated and complicated. More than doubled. Relationship with a woman worthy of his aunt. My mother's old friend. A relationship where your screaming mind has to stop. But the heart doesn't stop sobbing. After that confused afternoon of cleaning, it's an invisible embarrassment. It seems to cover a small space of the peaceful hostel. Try to be natural. But you can't forget the deep eyes of her mind. And the touch the trembling hand lasts. Avoid looking directly at her. Usually go when they're accidentally in the same narrow space. Your mind seems to be the same. You talk less. Sometimes they just answer the king's questions with a smile or a slight nod. Common meals still take place. The eye is not as comfortable as before. Instead, there's a silence, heavy with things that can't be said. The king is annoyed with himself. You blame yourself. I've let inappropriate thoughts creep into my head. He looked at my friend with eyes he shouldn't have. But you try to focus on reading. Long walk along the beach. Or even make a phone call. Visit friends in the city. More than, as a way to pull yourself out of the strange pull of that woman. The more you try to ignore, the image of her mind became clearer. In your mind, the eyes are sad. A gentle smile that hides loneliness. And the way she stroked her hair. Standing in front of the mirror. One morning you woke up earlier than usual. The sky outside the window and the early fog. The sea was as calm as a mirror. I saw you coming down to make tea. But suddenly she was sitting on the porch. From when? She wasn't sitting on a chair as usual, but sitting on the old granite steps. Eyes far away to the sea, where the sun is about to rise. She wears a thin gray jacket. The hair is a little messy at the back of the neck. That look in the twinkling dawn. It's lonely and fragile. But the king stood still at the door. Dare not step out, afraid to disturb her private moment. He saw her softly raise her hand to rub it across her eyes, like wiping away a tear that just rolled down. That image made my heart ache. But you've never seen her so weak. You always try to be strong. Calmly manage everything alone. But maybe deep inside, you're just a normal woman. There are also times of weakness. You also need a shoulder to lean on. Suddenly her mind returned, caught the golden eyes looking at me. She was startled. He hurriedly put his hand on his hair. Try to regain your usual calm. He woke up early. Her voice was a little hoarse. He can't sleep anymore. He stepped out and he sat down on the steps. About a distance from you. What's not funny? She shook her head and he laughed sadly. Nothing. He just suddenly missed home. You know you're lying. But you don't ask anymore. He just sat so silently with her looking out to the sea. The dawn begins to rise. Dyed pink all over the sky. The sound of the waves clapping against the sand was so peaceful. It must be sad to be here for a long time. He asked. Yes, sometimes sad. Grandma Mind answers distant voice. especially when the wind is blowing, or the holidays of Tet. She's far away from her friends and she lives her life. Men, when you're alone in the house, you feel lonely. Grandmother stopped. Then he realized he was talking too much. She hurriedly changed the subject. It's almost morning. I'm going to prepare breakfast. You must be hungry too. She got up and walked into the house. She looked at the shadow of her thin back. Behind the door. My heart rises to an inexpressible emotion. You love her. Sorry for the loneliness you are suffering. And you're mad at yourself. Angry at the wrong thoughts. Angry for letting the momentary flutter. It disturbed her peaceful life. That day, he decided to keep his distance from her. You talk less than you do when you're alone. You spend more time walking alone. Or call your mother. Tell your mother about life here. About my aunt's thoughtful care. Your mother on the other end of the line was delighted. Yes, I am very kind. In the past, the two were close as sisters. I'll be there and try to help you. Don't let me bother you. Listen to your mother more and more. You promised yourself, we have to stop these wrong feelings. You have to keep your aunt's relationship. However, the human will is sometimes weak. Before the vibrations of the hat, he was sitting in the yard drying clothes that afternoon. He saw her coming out of the house, holding an old photo album. She sat down on the bench under the old porcelain tree, quietly undoing each photo page. Curiously glanced at. It's the black and white photos that have turned the color of time. In the picture is a young woman, beautiful with a radiant smile. I guess that's my daughter's grandmother, standing next to a tall man, face resolute. That must be her late husband. She was absorbed in looking at the photos. The corners of her eyes glowed softly. I saw her hand trembling slightly. The man's face in the photo, a gesture full of love and regret. At that moment, I suddenly saw that she was beautiful. A sad beauty but full of hidden vitality. You forgot your promise to keep your distance. Unconsciously stepped closer. And, your old photo. She was startled and looked up. Hurry up and closed the album. You look a little confused, just an old picture. The whole picture used to shake, and she laughed. Your uncle looks so good. Then he closed his mouth and found himself a little unattractive. Yeah, but she's not upset. She sighed softly and looked far away. He used to be the most handsome man in the area. That's fate. Her voice dropped. The sadness was evident in Ba's eyes. The king doesn't know what else to say. Just quietly sit down next to her. You feel the loss. Loneliness has followed her for years. He wanted to say something to comfort her, but every word seems to be empty. But suddenly she turned to look at the emperor. A very different look. No longer looked sad or embarrassed. Her eyes glowed with a fierce gaze. It's both probing and inviting. She gently raised her hand to touch the royal cheek. You look a lot like him. Startled people. Her hands are cold but soft. Gliding on your face, it makes you feel like electricity is flowing through you. Your breath is in a hurry. My heart is pounding. When you look deep into her eyes, to see in it a mirror image of oneself. Confused but also full of desire. The distance between them no longer seems to exist. The space around them seems to collapse. It's just breath and eye contact. Your mind screams to push her out, to run away from this dangerous situation, but your body is kind of sucked into those eyes, into the warmth of her hands. You know you're on the edge. Just one more step and it will fall. Cold hands. Her soft mind glided softly on the royal cheek, in a split second, but that moment seemed to last forever. Etched deep into your mind, the whole king stiffens his senses like a strain. You can feel it. Each fingerprint slips through my skin. Her breath burst out near her. Bring the smell of lotus tea, sometimes mixed with the smell of the afternoon sun, still in her hair. Your heart is pounding, to the point of wanting to jump out of my chest. A mess of emotions swirled in his amazement. Confused, afraid. But above all, it's an intense vibration, an instinctive desire that's hard to deny. This is your mind. You look a lot like him. It's like a soft knife to reality, to pull you out of the confusion in your eyes. Like her husband. What do you mean? It's an unintentional comparison or an implicit suggestion. My mind is spinning and can't explain it. Right after that, she also seemed to recognize her own transformation. She hurriedly withdrew her hands as if they were burning. His face flickered with panic and shame. She avoided the royal gaze. He turned and he looked at the photo album that was closed on my lap, fascinating hands on the edge of the worn old cover. What? You're just saying shit. Looking at the old picture is a bit nostalgic. Her voice stuttered trying to explain, but the confusion in her eyes and her cheeks flashed. He denounced everything. The king doesn't know how to respond. You're just silent. Hot feeling in my cheeks. You just touched it and it seems to be there. The air between them became thick. Embarrassed to breathe, the ocean's waves in the distance are still whispering steadily. The sound of the sparrows chirping on the old porcelain branches, all the familiar sounds of the evening, it seems to highlight more. The tense silence between two people. It was late and he went home to cook. She stood up, her voice somewhat hurried. She took the album in her lap and he hurried into the house. He dared not look at the king again. He sat alone on the rack. The sea breeze blows through. Make your tomorrow's crows fly. He raised his hand to touch his cheek, where her mind's warmth seemed still lingering. What just happened, but you're not sure? Just know that short moment completely broke down the defensive wall that you've been trying to build over the last few days. You can't fool yourself anymore. You're really attracted to this woman. An attraction that goes beyond emotion. My aunt is usual. But the days after that, the embarrassment between the king and his wife, it becomes more obvious. They almost completely avoid each other. You often find an excuse to go for a long walk. When you get home, try to stay in a room. She rarely leaves the kitchen area. Or your own room. Common meals gradually thinning, into which added the rice trays that she quietly brings up, placed in front of the royal room. This sudden separation made the emperor feel uneasy. You remember the warm meals. You remember having tea on the porch at night. You remember the time he did housework with her. Even if it's just a chore, you recognize the presence of the mind. It's become a familiar part in your life here. A familiarity you don't want to lose. But you also know that keeping your distance is necessary right now, for you and for your grandmother. But in times of being alone in the room, she doesn't stop thinking about her mind, about the touch, about her implicit gaze. Now you're trying to analyze her actions. Should be. It's just a moment if a woman's weakness, lonely for a long time, suddenly saw the shadow of my dead husband. Where the young man? Or that's actually a signal. A secret invitation that she did not dare to say. The more you think, the more confused you feel. On the one hand, you feel sorry for her loneliness. Am moved by the salty beauty. And the deep soul. On the other hand, you feel guilty about your mother. Being afraid of the wrong relationship. The opposite is always moral. Try calling for a glass. My ex-girlfriend just broke up. But the voice is cold. The distance of the glass on the Kia end. The more you lose. Noisy city laugh. With anger and blame. Jealousy is now so distant and so bland. Compared to the silent vibrations, the complexity that you're going through in this deserted sea. When you realize no more matter how hard you try, you can't go back to being a carefree student. Maybe from a few weeks ago. Your heart has missed a beat. Because one should not be moved. She was in the days of avoiding royalty. Also experienced the same torments. She blames herself for not controlling her emotions, said war actions and words. Not being nice to your friend's son. I am ashamed of myself. Shame on the dead husband. But at the same time, I can't deny the feeling of anxiety. Every time I think of the king. Think of your clear but curious eyes. Think of the boundless energy of your youth. How long has it been since you have? I feel my heart beating so fast. How long has it been? You feel like a woman again. Really with the desire for the hidden vibrations. The appearance of royalty. Like a strange wind blowing into a life that's flat. It's boring. It awakens the emotional parts. She thought she had fallen asleep. It makes you feel like you are truly growing. But this spring comes at a very different time. With an inappropriate object. I know you have to stop. To stifle the wrong emotions. This one before it's too late. But makes how to put out the fire when it's already smoldering. One evening sitting in the reading room, he heard a soft knock on the door. Surprised, he opened the door. She stood there, carrying a small plate of skillfully trimmed fruit. My Aunt Andy saw me staying in my room these days. Not down to eat lice. Eat some fruit and bring it up for you to eat. Her voice is still soft, but the eyes are a bit shy. He dare not look directly at the king. I'm a little surprised. Thank you. Just leave it on the table for me. You try to keep your voice calm. Oh yeah, put the plate. Put some fruit on the table and you turn around. But at the door she slid to a stop, slowly speaking in a whisper. I'm sorry about what happened in your yacht the other day. It did mean to. Maybe I'm a little excited to see the old photos. The silent prince didn't know what to say. Your mother's apology makes you even more awkward. You're welcome, my aunt, he replied. I understand. She nodded and he quickly left the room. Leave the queen alone with a plate of fruit. Andy the messes of emotions. Your sorry mind. It seems to make the situation more complicated. It's just like a denial, trying to get things back on track. But at the same time as an acknowledgement that what really happened the other day, it really means something special to both of them. Sit down in the chair. Look at the carefully trimmed fruit plate. You know she wants to do that. Close the distance between them. You want to get rid of the embarrassment of the past few days. But can we go back to the way we were before? When both of you have noticed the vibrations. It shouldn't be in my head. He sighed, held a piece of apple to his mouth, and he bit it gently. The sweet taste of an apple in my mouth. But your heart is filled with 100 clues. Summer in this seaside town. You thought it would be peaceful days. Now it's full of wind in your soul. Her apologies were awkward and somewhat evasive. Again, like a rainstorm, wash it off somewhat. The stifling atmosphere enveloped the peaceful motel. The embarrassment has been said for days, hidden in the sudden glances. Intersect and hurry. In silence that lasts longer than usual, between two key stories. But at least they were able to talk to each other again. Even if it's just social hand questions about the weather, about lice, or about the guests who just stopped by and went back to the wall. The ice of total evasion has melted in half, to reveal itself beneath an underground river of complex emotions. Still silently flowing, you feel a little more relieved. You no longer have to hide in your room, or try to avoid her. He started the morning helping her water the plants, sweeping the yard, filled the simple peace. In nameless jobs. Common meals are also gradually resumed though. It's not as natural as the early days. They talk more about outside things. Their relationship. About the news on the old radio. The price of fish in the market. About her daughter about to take her semester. Or about the emperor's vague intentions. After graduation. On the surface, everything seems to be trying. Return to normal orbit. If my aunt's affection. My mother's friends. But both the emperor and the grandmother secretly understood that there's an invisible crack that has appeared. A fragile boundary has been shaken. And no more for sure. Can they keep it from breaking down? See internal struggles in the royal. Has never recovered. Every time you see her mind, your heart can't stop moving. The beauty of the tenderness and the loneliness hidden in her eyes. There's a strange attraction to you too. He tried to remind himself of the age gap. About the friendship between your mother and her. About social ethical norms. But reason is sometimes weak. Before the instinctive vibrations, there are nights when you listen to the waves in the distance. You can't stop thinking about the touch. About her hidden eyes that day. And you wonder what would happen if you didn't stop. If you just let the emotions go. These thoughts make you scared. There's just something waiting. She's probably more tormented than the emperor. She's a woman who's been through half her life. Always try to live light. Preserve the image of his wife. The mother is sure. The owner was kind in everyone's eyes. But the appearance of the young royal, enthusiasm and the interests, very sincere of the young man, has revived the desires. She seemed to have been buried for a long time. She felt like a 18-year-old girl who fell in love for the first time, confused by a look. Excited by a small gesture of concern. The feeling of spring is both sweet and bitter. It's sweet because it makes you feel alive again. She is being a true woman. It's because it comes at an inappropriate time. With an object that should not be. I fear the judgment of men. If the thing breaks down, how fear hurts a friendship. You're with Queen Mother. And I'm afraid of not being able to face myself with the dead husband. Near the end of summer, the afternoon rains began to appear more often. In a seaside town, it rained all day without end. The hotel, which was already empty, became even quieter. Only the sound of rain falling and chisels on the roof. And the ocean's waves roared in the distance. Wet eye. The cold makes people feel more alone. On a rainy afternoon like a little water, King is sitting in the reading room. He heard her whisper outside the door. Dear, are you in the room? Roal opening. She stood still holding a paper raincoat. The roof in the back of the kitchen is leaking. The rain was so heavy that the water flowed into my aunt's house. Can you help me cover it up? He was afraid he would get all the furniture in the kitchen. Please let me see. The king did not hesitate to accept. He quickly put on the raincoat she gave him, then used to go around the back of the house. The rain is still falling, strong wind blowing, making coconut leaf boats smash together to call out the Buddha. The kitchen is old. There's a pretty big hole, cause the rain to fall straight down. Hold the ladder and let me climb up. She pointed to the bamboo ladder at the corner of the wall. Leave it to Leo. I'm standing down here watching Slippery. Stop being a man, son. How can you let her climb up to the wet metal roof, in the rain and the wind like this? Carefully climb the ladder. The roof is slippery because of the rain. You find an old tarp nearby. Try to cover the leak with a couple of blocks. She stood on her back and looked up. Hold the ladder firmly. A worried face. The rain fell on her face, drenched her head and thin shoulders. When Emperor Leo came down, he was soaked. She hurriedly took the towel and gave it to him. Keep it cold. Thank you very much. No more, I'm sure you don't know how to manage. You're welcome, Aunt. He took the towel and wiped his wet hair. The familiar smell from the cotton towel, the smell of the sun, the smell of the sea breeze and her own fragrance. It makes your heart move again. They're nestled under the little eaves behind the kitchen, looking out at the white rain outside. The distance between them is now very close. Almost as close as you can get. I can feel the warmth coming from my grandmother. I could hear her breathing in the rain. Then a strong wind blew by. Throw away tomorrow's curls. And her rain on the emperor's face. Startled by reflexes. Put your hands up and pull those hairs out. Your finger accidentally slipped across the ear. And her cold cheeks. She also has wide open eyes looking at you. His eyes were filled with wonder and confusion. In that moment, time stopped. The rain, the wind. The ocean's waves seemed to fade away. Only the eyes of two people remained, looking deeply at each other. Discover the hidden things that can't be said. I saw my heart beating violently. You can see the reflection. I am in my black eyes. The depth of her mind. A haunting and bewildering image. You want to bend down. You want to put a kiss on my trembling lips. She wanted to embrace the thin shoulders that were shivering from the coward. Or because of emotion. But at the right time, the phone rings in your pocket. The sound broke the thick air. Your mother called. He looked like someone who had just woken up. You take a quick step back, turn around and try to calm down. Hello, Mom. Your voice is a little lost. Your mind is just as awake. She hurried back into the kitchen with red cheeks. My heart is still beating. A sudden ringing of the phone. As a release. Save both of them from a situation that they don't know where it's going to lead to, but at the same time it leaves a vague regret. An ineffable sense of hopelessness. Roa, try to talk to your mother normally, but your mind keeps spinning. With what just happened, and the touch of her hand on her cheek, the eyes crossed under the eaves, the rain was so intense. Too honest. You know that. The emotional connection between you and mine. It's not just my feelings anymore. It's become something deeper. It's much more complicated and much more dangerous. Finally the phone call ended. Stand outside on the porch for a while. The rain has died down, only to fall. You look at the kitchen. She saw the shadow of her mind quietly lighting a fire to cook water. Her back looks more lonely, in the dark little kitchen. He sighed and he felt his heart heavy. You have just over a week to go back to the city. The short time left here. What are you going to do with this mess? Are you strong enough to be rational? Or will it be again, caught up in the cycle of the wrong vibrations? These questions are always in your head. There's no more answer. Your phone call is like cold water pouring in. The fire of emotions just kindled in the heart of the emperor. It pulls you back to the grim reality, reminds you of your true role here. A grandchild came to stay at her mother's friend's house. A student is about to return to the wheel, learning spinning. And the pressures in the city. The truth makes me feel guilty and confused. In you more clearly, but you can't keep lying to yourself. Or ignore the moral limits. The last few days in town. The coast passes in a strange atmosphere. A blend of wiggle, regret and a secret expectation hard to name. Both the king and his wife, everyone tries to behave as normally as possible, as if the moment under the eaves, the rain that day never happened. They talk more about things that don't exist, grinning awkwardly at the key stories. But the eyes are always trying to avoid touching each other. The force is evident in every gesture, every word. It's like a thin cover. The underground waves are rolling down below. The queen began to pack her things. Rearrange your books, get your clothes ready for the day of your return. That odd job keeps you temporarily distracted from thoughts of her mind. You call some close friends. Announce my date if a date gathering. But you're trying to paint it in your head. Plans for the future. The plans are unfinished. Force yourself to focus on real life. Waiting for me. But strangely the image of the bustling city. Familiar friends' faces or even an ex-girlfriend. It all seems so distant and so blurry. But no matter how hard your mind tries, you keep coming back to this little house. With the sound of the ocean's waves. And especially with the image of the woman. They have sad eyes, but the gaze has a strong pull. But you realize the short weeks. This has left a deeper mark on you. You thought. You've really found a sense of peace. A familiar attachment to the strange town. And most of the attachment comes from her mind. But you remember why you came here to escape. To find some silence. But now, your heart is more and more complicated. You don't just have to deal with old problems. Not resolved. But also a new set of emotional burns. It's much more complicated and dangerous. Closer to the day. The feeling of regret in you grows. Regret the quiet summer days are coming to an end. You miss the fresh air of the sea. And you regret the interest, the warm care she gave you. But deeper. You know you're missing something else. Something you dare not name. A slim chance to discover to the end. The strange connection between you and your grandmother. She thought about the last days of her stay. It also seems to be different. You seem more thoughtful. Less talk. Sometimes the 7 gods look out at the sea for hours on end. She still cooks raw food. He asked Tan a few questions. But that interest is a distant sadness. Once he saw her sitting alone in the kitchen. Quietly turning over the old photo album. My shoulders trembled slightly. You know she misses her husband. But also maybe, she's upset about something else. A sadness related to the presents. And you're leaving. She tried to be happy. He even asked me about my future plans. He advised you to focus on your studies, looking for a good job. My advice is sincere. The light of an aunt. A friend of my mother. But royalty. He felt in her voice a struggle. A well-hidden sadness. You seem to be struggling with yourself. Try to keep your aunt's name. Trying to push back on emotions that shouldn't be there. That tore the insides of both people like a string. It's just waiting for a light touch to break. The air in the motel is becoming more and more stuffy. Although on the outside, it tried to be calm. Every eye accidentally touches, every little gesture of interest. They're like little sparks. Fire. It can ignite a major fire at any time. So there are only 2 days left for the emperor to leave. That evening. After dinner, it was much quieter than usual. He decided to say thank you and goodbye. She cares officially. You don't want to leave in shame. as awkward as the last few days. This aunt hesitated to speak. While you're sitting on the porch drinking tea. The moon is not as full as it was a few days ago. It's just that thin spot, hanging in the sky full of stars. She turned to look at him with waiting eyes. Auntie, I want to thank you. Because of all that, I've been working for you for the past few weeks. Thanks to you, I had a really good summer. Smiling and smiling, there is nothing to thank. I know how to help you. I'm glad to have you here. Auntie, I'll be back tomorrow. You stay healthy. The job if staying alone is also hard. Try to say the right words. Yeah, I know. I'm upset trying to learn. Don't let your parents bother you, she replied with a calm voice. A long silence. Only the sound of the ocean's waves, and the phony sound of insects at night. Roa, I feel something choking in my chest. You want to say something more. You want to express the special affection you have for her. But you don't know where to start. You don't know what words to use. Then suddenly she spoke with a trembling voice. Tomorrow before you go. Can I ask you something? You are surprised what you are doing, Auntie. My Aunt Andy hesitated for a long time. The eyes look out into the unknown in front of you. 1. The light bulb on the roof has been broken for days. I'm a little scared of you when you get up, sir. Can you help me fix it? I can see it for you in the morning. He answered without a doubt. I don't mean, can you have it tonight? I'm afraid I'll be busy packing and talking in the morning. His eyes did not dare to look directly at the king. He was a little surprised by the urgent request. And he heard strange. People rarely come up on the roof. The light bulb broke down a few days later. And she asked me to fix it. You want to fix it so late at night? A vague premonition. There's an unspeakable thrill in your heart. Is this just about fixing the light bulb? Or there's another meaning? But the look on her face was kind of urgent. And her confused mind. The king could not refuse. That's okay. Let me take a look. Yeah. So you go ahead. I'll get a ladder and a new light bulb, she sighed. Andy hurriedly got up and went into the house. My feet are a little wobbly. Stand up and take a deep breath. Salty sea breeze. Your heart starts beating fast again. There are only 2 people on the late night terrace. What's going to happen? You feel a strong urge. You want to follow the heart. You want to explore the strange connection. But at the same time, a weak rational voice still echoing through his head. Warning if unintended consequences. You stand, sir, between the fragile boundaries if reason and the emotion, right and the wrong if should and the should not. The final decision lies with you. And it seems that tonight, fate has set a path. It's hard for you to turn around. He walked slowly towards the stairs leading up to the roof. Every step heavy as lead. But also full of a mysterious waiting. Roa swallowkan. I feel like my chest is about to break. You take a deep breath. Sea breeze, carrying the cold, salty taste of the late night, trying to calm down the beat, the heart's racing. There are only 2 people on the late night terrace. Mind grandmother's suggestion to fix the light bulb, even if it seems normal, echoing through my head. You're like a vague alarm, full of meaning you can't shake the feeling that there's something important, something that can't be turned back is about to happen. He walked slowly up the wooden stairs, creaking up to the roof. The air above is thinner than the wind blows stronger, carrying the ocean's waves against the nearby rocks. I hear one clearly. The roof is quite large, with red tiles. Only a few pots of dried bonsai, and a set of old plastic tables and the chairs covered in dust. The electric light is broken. The whole yard was in deep darkness. Just a little bit of a soft light from the windows downstairs, and the moon's fading high. The sea wind blows the cage. The cold of the night made me unconsciously use myself. The feeling of desolate solitude enveloping the space, but the silence itself, it adds to the excitement. Waiting in your heart. A moment later the soft footsteps echoed behind her. Your mind has reached its destination. Portable aluminum compact ladder. Kia holds a new compact bulb. She wore a thin jacket the day before, but the hair has been tightened. Under the demon her face looked pale. My eyes are heavy. This ladder. She put the ladder on the floor, the quiet voice, as afraid of breaking the steel eye. The Lord took the ladder. Find a solid spot near the broken bulb. And then he's up and he checks the stability of the ladder. Then turn to the mind. Hold the ladder for me. Yes, she walked to the two handrails on both sides of the ladder. Eyes looking up follow the rising shadow. Careful step by step. The distance between you and your mind, now it's only narrowly. You can feel her steady breath coming out. Light behind my head, smell the smell. Familiar from her hair? The proximity. This sudden closeness makes you stretch like a string. He tried to focus on removing the old light bulb. It was burning black, but my hands were trembling. It's a little tight. Be careful. Her mind's voice echoed light below filled with worry. He nodded with a little more strength. The old light bulb cracked for an hour and then left. You put it down. When she held out her hand, her fingers accidentally touched his hand. It's a very light touch, but it's enough to startle both of you. He hurriedly withdrew his hand and his heart thundered. She also lowered her face to her trembling shoulders. Gladly calm down. Take a new light bulb from her hand and install it on the tail. When you're done, you turn on the switch on the wall. The blue and white light of the new compact bulb flashed, dispelling the darkness on the roof. It also shows the faces of two people. Ada standing close together. But in that moment of light, they suddenly looked into each other's eyes. No more embarrassment or avoidance. But her eyes were full of complexity. There's confusion. Suddy's fear, but deep down there's a fire of desire. A magical wordless invitation. The prince also looked at her. No more curious eyes, or the compassion of a grandchild. It's the eyes of a man who's fascinated, because of the beauty of women, ever experienced. Because of the loneliness and the weakness she's just revealed. The newly installed light seems to be becoming too harsh, too naked, exposing all the hidden emotions. They tried to hide it. The sea breeze suddenly blew stronger and flowed through the roof, make her thin jacket mind fly the Buddha part, to reveal thin shoulders and looming curves. Behind the nightgown, inside her hair, a few strands flashed in front of her, following a natural reflex. He raised his hand and pulled those hairs out of her face. This time your hands are no more longer shaking. His fingers glided softly over his smooth forehead, stop where the temples have made some crow's foot wrinkles. A sudden tenderness rises in your heart. She does not shy away. She closed her eyes slightly, seemed to surrender to the gentle touch. Her breath became faster. A soft tear rolled from the corner of my eyelash. Has closed the hot fall on the butt of the hand the king is laying on. Mom Grandma Dua. The tear seemed to break down all the barriers. Finally in the hat, you can't think anymore. Every reason, every promise, every fear is gone. There's only a strong instinctive urge left. Of desire. To embrace the fragile woman in front of him. To share the loneliness. And feel the void in her heart. He bent down softly. Your lips are trembling. To her cold lips because of the night wind. An awkward kiss that faltered at first. It quickly gets deeper. More intense when she softly opened her lips. The salty taste of tears, mixed with a sudden sweetness on the lips, creates a taste that's both bitter and infatuated. She put her arms around the queen's neck tight. Her body trembled violently, not because of the cold. It's because of the emotions that we've had all for the years. Suddenly burst. She kissed him a kiss just like begging. It's like reclaiming a lost spring. The familiar smell of my grandmother. It's more passionate now than ever. Mixed with the smell of the sea breeze, the smell of night dew. It's like getting lost in a maze with no more way out. They embrace. We're getting married on the windswept roof. Under the fading moon. And the electric light has just been lit. Any age limit on the shoulder. About ethics. Were erased in the moment of his ascension. Only two hot bodies are left to find each other. Two lonely souls longing to be warmed. The hastily breathed into the winds howl through the door. The sound of the ocean waves in the distance is more intense, slammed against the rock like a wild beat. In their chest, you feel the softness. Trembling but also full of her body's response. In my arms. You're clumsily exploring, both nervous and enchanted. She cares about the woman's experience. I've spent years of quiet solitude leading you. But in the guidance lies a great sadness, a sinful surrender. The blue and the white lights in the sky are shining down. You see every line on their faces. His face flushed red. The first laugh is wrong. Her face was filled with tears. But there's a strange sense of satisfaction. But that moment wasn't light. There's only the naked truth of human desire. If extreme loneliness has found a way out. Even if it's only temporary and full of left. When the patient passed, they let go of each other. The breath is still gasping. A sudden silence enveloped the space. It's heavy and awkward. The electric lights on the high are no longer flashing. That gets harsh, shining into the naked truth. If what just happened. The sea breeze still blows with the chord that seeps into the flash. The waves are still clapping. But now listen to sound that far away sad. He dare not look directly at her. He turned his face and he looked out at the thick black space over the sea. Feelings of guilt and the emptiness begins to invade the soul. She also quietly pulled back the sagging jacket, eyes looking down at the red brick. The face has no more emotion. It's just fatigue and the emptiness to the extreme. The late night terrace suddenly became extraordinarily cold. After the heat just died out, the sea breeze blows through with the salt. And the iron cold seeps into the naked flesh. The blue and the white electric lights are still on. There's no more sparkling now, that become acrimonious, bling, to shed light on the stark truth of what has just happened. A truth that both the emperor and the mind, they don't want to face. Silence enveloped the space. Heavy, so much so that you could hear the breaking of sacred things, just been trampled. He dare not look at you, turn your face away, the eyes of the unknown ra. The black space of Atakas the sea, where only the waves are left. It's all monotonous and sad. Feeling guilty like a rat, heavy on your chest, interspersed with an ineffable void. A drunken leaven of passion passing too fast, leaving only the bitter taste of the harsh truth. She stood so quietly a few feet away. She pulled back her jacket, covered the thin shoulder, and the traces of a love affair. Her eyes looked down at the faded red brick. The face is so scary. No more confusion. There is no longer a desire to invite. There's only one tired look left, an emptiness to the extreme. As if her soul had just been drained of life. It's late, go to the break room. I'll be back early tomorrow. She finally spoke in a loud voice. Without any emotion, it's like coming from somewhere far away. The three kings were startled. He turned to look at her. You only see the thin back, slowly walking towards the stairs. You want to say something, I'm sorry. An explanation, or is it just a question, but your throat is choking. Can't put it into words. You know that every word now makes no more sense. The two of them followed her down the stairs. The sound of two people's footsteps echoed lie. In the empty night, heavy and lost, they avoid looking into each other's eyes, each immersed in his own thoughts. In anguish and the humiliation that can't be shared. Down to the second floor hallway, she stopped in front of her room. Speak quietly without turning back. Good night, I'll wake you up in the morning. Then she walked quickly into the room, closed the door. As if to shoot it off completely. Link rope, it's just connected the wrong way, left on the roof. She stood in front of her room for a long time. The feeling of loss invades the whole mind. Silent wooden door Kia. It's like a wall between two worlds. Two people just. We've been married recently. In the labyrinth of instinct, he sighed and he walked back to his room. Room number ba familiar. Now it's so empty and so cold. He lay down on the bed, face down on the pillow, tried to get rid of her mind. To get rid of the feelings of guilt that are tormenting the mind. The more he tried to forget, everything is more and more clear. The eyes are inviting. The touch trembling hands. The kiss was filled with tears and the emptiness was terrifying. After the orgy, he was almost awake that night. The next morning the sun rises. The golden sun shining through the window. But can't shake the dark fog inside. The king sat up sluggishly. Start packing the rest of the stuff into the backpacks. Your hands and feet are heavy. Your mind is empty. You just want to leave this place quickly, let go of the haunts of last night. She knocked on your door very early. Get up and get ready. The car is coming. Her voice echoed in from outside the door. Still light but somewhat distant. You're up, the king replied quietly. You opened the door. She stood said and changed into her usual tidy clothes. She avoided looking straight into your eyes. Just give me a small bag of breakfast. My aunt made me some sandwiches for breakfast in the car. Eat it for hunger. Thank you, Auntie. He took the bread bag. A sense of shame rises. The breakup was quick and awkward. She sent off the royal family. Where the bus runs the town line, the city is waiting. She didn't say much. Let me just ask you a few questions about education. Keep healthy. You only know the truth. Yes. He dare not look long into her eyes. His eyes now returned with sadness, away from the usual. But Sir seems to be more fatigued, and he deeply hurt. He puts his backpack on his shoulder and he gets in the car. Choose a seat near the window. When the car starts to roll, you suddenly turn your head and you look back. She was standing there in front of the peaceful house. Lonely little figure in the bright morning sun. She raised her hand as if waving, but then he hurried down. Two people's eyes met through the car window. In one last moment, a gaze full of unspeakable things. Complex emotions that no more words can describe. The car drove away, leaving behind a peaceful seaside town, and the memories of this past summer. He leaned his head against the glass door and he looked at the coconuts. The red-tiled roofs glide by, and he then stepped back. Your heart is heavy with an unspeakable sadness. You left with a sense of guilt. The confusion about myself, and an indelible shadow. The flight is over, but you seem to carry a burden. Bigger in the soul. You know that last night will always be a secret. A smoldering scar in the memory of both you and your grandmother. She stood quietly in front of the motel, until the passenger car is just a dot. Fade and fade away after the form of flying low at the end of the road. Beside softly a tired brain sigh. The house now returns to silence. Inherent emptiness. But this silence is different. It's no more longer peaceful. It's heavy with the echoes of last night, of the sinful emotions just tasted. She turned and walked slowly into the house. The sun was shining through the window. On her face streaks of light and the darkness intertwined. She looked around the familiar living room. Everything is tidy as every day. But she felt that something had changed forever. Last night's storm swept away the false peace. You've been trying to build it all this time, to leave a void. Immense and an unending sorrow. She stepped out on the porch. Sit down in a familiar chair, eyes towards the sea. The sea is still blue, the waves are still crashing against the white sand. The scenery is so beautiful and so peaceful, but her heart has welled up. She didn't regret it, but she didn't feel at ease. She just felt a great sadness. It's a quiet acceptance, about the unexpected twists and the turns of life, about our instinctive desires. It's impossible to deny a woman. It's been offered half a life. The sun is still golden, the wind is still blowing. But in her heart, maybe a winter has just begun.